My guest at this time can be seen almost every week as part of MLW Fusion. It's the one and only Konnan. Konnan, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Yo, what's up, Nick? How you doing?
Good, man. I'm glad I can actually see you now. I don't know that we've ever done a video interview before.
Yeah, I don't think we ever have. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at us here. Just two darling, strapping gentlemen talking pro wrestling today.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Anyway, welcome,
yeah.
Konnan. Welcome back. How are you doing, by the way? Just an update. You travel a lot. I know you were down in Mexico here recently. Are you back in the States? How's it been for you dealing with the travel and everything during the pandemic here?
Like everybody else, it's a pain in the ass because being on a plane for 2 or 3 hours with that mask on is brutal, and and all the protocols that you have to take. But we're in a pandemic and we're at the tail end of it. Thank God that vaccinations are going to be rolling out, and I think I would think that I would surmise that by the summer we'll have this under control. And we'll probably be seeing mass gatherings. I don't know in what size, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
That's awesome. And so for MLW, I mean, we all just heard recently, I guess WWE is going to have fans at WrestleMania. We've seen fans elsewhere. Do you think MLW welcomes fans back anytime sooner than your future?
1,000%. They're that element that's missing in the matches. A lot of wrestlers, you see them that without a crowd, they're not the same.
Yeah.
There are certain wrestlers that need that pop from the crowd, their crowd favorites, the energy you get from the crowd. So obviously everybody misses the crowd, plus the generating income aspect of it.
Yeah,
making money. How do you pay your talent if you're not generating that ancillary income? I know that almost everybody's getting TV rights, but unless you're WWE or AEW, you know what I'm saying, you're not really getting a whole lot of money for that.
Well, that's actually kind of something that spins nicely to something I wanted to ask you about. There was a report out recently that with MLW's relationship with DAZN, that the talents are getting better contract offers right now in MLW. Does that seem to be the case? Can you confirm or deny that?
I haven't been a part of that. It may be, Court's very smart with what he's doing. He's not trying to run. He's taking, baby steps and not trying to do what a lot of promoters done, get to run before his time. And he's really doing a good job over there in MLW. And you can see it in the storylines of talent. You're starting to see some talent that you'd never heard of before that are starting to grow in other promotions. So he's got a good eye for that. Good stories, good vibe. It's very different. He's very aware of the Mexican crowd, and he caters to them in like when we go to Chicago. So he's done a real good job at MLW. All you got to do is watch the product. Plus, of course, when you compare a 1 hour show or 44 minutes, whatever, with commercials, it goes by really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy to watch too. It's just over on YouTube and everything like that. So it's very accessible. It's easy to find MLW Fusion. How do you feel about MLW jumping in on the Wednesday nights? That seems to be the night everybody's playing.
That's very weird. I would never have jumped in on a Wednesday night, but that might be a decision that's out of Court's hands. Why would you want to go up against the big two?
I don't know. Well, you're an hour.
They're not, huh?
You're an hour. MLW's an hour before those other shows.
Yeah, bro. But how much wrestling can you consume anymore? Even me. I'll give you an example. On my podcast, I actually do a review show, right? So I review AEW. That's 2 hours. I review SmackDown. That's another 2 hours. I review Raw, which I should be paid extra for because that's 3 torturous hours. Okay. So we're talking 7 hours. Then I do the Spanish commentary on Impact. That's another 2 hours, 9 hours, and that's because I'm making money off of it. I mean, does anybody have that time to watch that much wrestling anymore? So I almost think that I almost feel, because I was doing this before I had to watch the shows entirely. I would see whatever people say, oh, this was really good, or this was so bad, you have to see it. And I'd just go back and watch clips. So I'd read, stuff, and then I'd just go back and watch that instead of the whole show. So it's very hard to digest as much wrestling as they're throwing at you right now. It's just so much.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and
like, I'll give you an example.
Go for it.
You grew up watching wrestling, right?
Yeah, this is I have my Headbanger Mosh action figure hanging off of my microphone recently.
All right, let me give you one of these. Usually do that on I usually do that only on my podcast, but that's for you. So, how much wrestling do you watch, Nick?
I mean, but I get paid to do it. I watch.
Right. How much you watch?
I watch everything you listed, but you didn't say NXT. I also watch NXT.
I watch NXT.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I watch NXT. I keep up with MLW.
So how much are you watching a week?
I'm watching anywhere between 10 and 15 hours of wrestling.
Okay. Is it easy?
It is not easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I have another job. I have other jobs. I'm working in other places doing other things, and I still got to watch these shows. So it's not easy to consume all that wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Well, MLW has been doing a good job, I feel like, of putting out matches and performers that they're at least grabbing people right now.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Their problem is like everybody else's. You're going up against two behemoths right now, and that's not easy for a lot of reasons. You know what I'm saying?
So strategically, when you're in that position, how do you act? What is your advice when you're in a spot like that?
Well, you just got to do what they're doing. They're doing things that MLW has their own vibe, right? Their own little universe, their own little style, and that's what you got to do, because you're not going to reinvent the wheel. What could they do? That's wrestling's wrestling, unless that's why, to me, I've always been a big proponent of Lucha, because Lucha looks so different than American wrestling. Like if you watch Mexican wrestling, you're like, what am I watching and what's going on? That's usually the biggest thing I hear. Then I hear the other complaints. Why don't they tag? Why don't they tag in? Why is everybody waiting for a dive? Why aren't they selling? Well, because it's not American wrestling. So if you want to watch American wrestling, watch that. And so then when you watch Lucha in the United States, when I see all these guys that they're not really doing Lucha. They're doing Lucha moves within the context of an American match. Because if I brought in real luchadors, they would eat them up. And I'll give you an example. When we were in Lucha Underground, this was a huge philosophical argument that I had backstage. Was they were more into, well, let's do less Lucha and more American. And I go, why would you do that when that's all you have in the United States? Let's do more Lucha and less American. So I'll never forget this. The first time they put the 6 luchadors together, because usually it was like a guy that knew some lucha moves and another guy that knew some lucha moves. But when they put 6, bro, they killed it, because the lucha libre is so creative and original, and not everything has to tell a story, And I've always said sometimes I like to give, when I'm booking in Mexico, I like to give the fans a video game match. Just a match where you turn off and you just watch. And you're not thinking, well, why isn't this guy selling? Or why was this guy waiting for it? No. It's just exciting. And you just go out there and you're entertained. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then there are matches that have deep layers and you have promos and you're selling and there's heat and we have all of that. You know what I'm saying? But, I just think that what you have to do and what MLW has done is they have a very different product in the way it's presented and the whole vibe that they have, like I said, bro, trying to catch traction, as on a Wednesday when everybody's watching AEW and NXT is not easy.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and you talk about playing to that Latin audience. Mil Muertes here getting resurrected by Selena De La Renta. I feel like that's a pretty big get. Do you want to talk about what it means to be bringing him to the company?
You mean Mil Muertes?
Mil Muertes, yes. I'm sorry. I had Bill Apter on the mind right now. I was talking to him in his mask earlier today.
Yeah. He's a humongous Mil Muertes fan. Shout outs to Wonderful Willie.
I know. I'm saying he literally was wearing the mask. That's what was on.
Yeah, he's tremendous. Yeah.
Anyway, Mil Muertes, yes.
Well, Mil Muertes, that's smart, trying to go into the Lucha Underground vault and bring some characters from there that were very popular, and he's one of them. And those are the things that MLW does so well. And, the Opera Cup, which was a cup that was held by Stu Hart and, from the early turn of the century. And, MJF, who was such a, nobody knew who he was. They do now. He had Rush before Rush went to ROH, so many guys, not Brody Lee. What's this guy's name that was in ROH with the other tattoos? A big guy. Brody King. Yeah. He was with us for a while. Thatcher was with us for a while. But, he's real good at finding really good young talent. We got Fatu, who's incredible, bro. I was a little... So Fatu ACH was the main event here. And they did such a big, the package with all the champions and stuff before the main event. I really thought this was going to maybe be a moment for ACH. I was a little surprised that the title stayed on Fatu. Right.
especially considering how hot ACH is right now as far as a free agent goes.
Well, I don't want to speak on Court's behalf. Maybe a guy that's been, and I love HCH. That's my boy. We
Yeah.
worked a lot together. Very talented guy, and I was happy when he was in MLW. But I don't know. I don't know where he is mentally, and if he wants to give the title to somebody that sometimes has mental issues. You know what I'm saying? That
Sure.
one day may disappear. Look at what happened to Kylie Ray, and I like her a lot.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
just won. She was going to win the title that night.
Yeah. You're talking about an Impact, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I was just trying to make a comparison. I have mental health issues. You know what I'm saying? But my mental health issues haven't gotten me to the point where I don't show up for work, or like Mauro Ronaldo, who's my boy. And I saw his special on Showtime. The guy was breaking down and crying and not going to work. Like, how bad is it? You know what I'm like? So I haven't had it that bad. You know what I'm saying? But ACH actually left the business like once or twice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that's somebody you're sure right now if you want to give the belt to. And I may be speaking out of line here.
No, that's fine. It's your take. I mean, I know you're an extremely empathetic guy, Konnan.
Right.
I'll say that. Like, how hard is it for you to watch, talents go through those mental struggles? And like, is MLW's culture, you think, different and better when it comes to those particular kinds of issues?
Yeah, they're very understanding. I think MSL, who works there, he's probably gone through some of those issues himself because I've talked to him about that. Court's very empathetic to the talent. And he always has really good relationships. And if he finds out that somebody needs help, he'll go there and he'll give them a pep talk. And he's very understanding that way. That's why I like working for him. But of course it's hard. It's something that you have to deal with daily.
Yeah, for sure, man. It sucks to watch people have to struggle and lose what they love. And like some
Right.
of the people I meet in the business, when you bring up things like bullying or whatever, they're very flippant about it. They're like, "Well, it's wrestling.
Right.
Of course, you're gonna have bullied and stuff
Right.
like that." It breaks my heart when you hear things like that.
Right. One, because you got to remember, Nick, for so many years since I got into the business, and we're already talking 30 years at this point, the business, not just here, but in Mexico and just about everywhere, Puerto Rico too, and they've always fostered like an atmosphere of bullying and hazing and cutting out the weak. It almost reminds me of when I was in the military and I went to boot camp. And the boot camp, they were separating the curious from the serious. We ain't here to F around. We may have to go to war. And if your dumbass is afraid or, was going through shit, I don't need you by my side. You know what I'm saying? And that was a mentality. I had a lot of disciplinary problems to the point that, I almost got dishonorably discharged. But, I stayed in there. And it's very hard, bro, because, they're weeding out. And even the soldiers themselves, they weed out the weak. And I almost felt that was the way it was in wrestling. We don't want, back then what they would call pussies in the industry. We don't want, nobody that can't take a joke or isn't going to go out and drink and womanize and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was a mentality, and you also went into the dressing room and I might have spoken to you about this before, but imagine this. I'm walking in my mind. I'm walking into the dressing rooms in like the late 80s, early 90s, right? Just about any dressing room. And it was all veterans. It was all guys that been in the business for like 10 years. And finally the big company said, you're ready to, you know what I'm saying? You've been in long enough. But now anybody, and I do mean literally anybody, can be an announcer, a commentator, a wrestler, a manager, a promoter. It's so easy to get into the business now. So you've got a lot of people that are hastily trained, not bro. Before, like in Mexico, when I broke in, I was very lucky because I was kind of like an anomaly. Okay. But you had to be wrestling training for about 4 years, and you had to go in front of these veterans, old school veterans, and they had to say, okay, you're going to get a wrestling license. Compare that to now, right? Which is like everybody gets in. And then the good part and the bad part about that is you have a wider net to collect talent, right? And a lot of that talent that wasn't given chances before. And let's be real, a lot of African Americans, a lot of minorities, Latinos, women, short guys, thinner guys. A lot of those people were not given opportunities. Now they are.
Yeah.
So now you have that talent that you can pick from. You have a lot of, but then you also have a lot of what I call semi-professional talent. All this talent that came off the indies that wasn't trained correctly, because the indies is like the Wild Wild West, bro.
Yes.
They show up late. They don't want to do finishes. It's fucking brutal. They're just trying to get applause from the fans, whether they're heels or faces. Like, if you're a heel, why are you trying to get applause from the fans? You're supposed to be getting heat,
Right.
So you've got this indie style that now permeates the main events because everybody's coming from the indies untrained. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of young people in the business that, bro, Chavo Guerrero, Eddie's brother, who was my idol when I was a kid, because when I was watching TV, there weren't a lot of Latinos in wrestling that were putting it down. Like, they were mostly jobbers. And Chavo was a star in LA. And, and I was like, wow, this guy's so cool. He used to do this thing called, the Northern Light Suplex, right?
Of course, yeah.
He used to call it the Mexplex, which I thought was a great name, right? And nobody was doing that back then. He was out of this world. He could cut promos. He was a great wrestler, great fire. He was great. And I remember the first time I met him, and this was like me marking out, like, wow, Chavo Guerrero, right? And he told me, he said, it takes about 10 years to learn this business. Now, I'd been in the business at that point like 4 years, and I thought I knew it all.
Right.
And I was like, well, you must be a slow learner, because I kind of know it all. He was right. Takes you about 10 years to learn it, just like a stand-up comedian. You talk to a stand-up comedian and ask them, how long did it take them to really hone their shit? It's about 10 years. Obviously there's anomalies to everything, but it takes a while to learn this, how to sell, how to work the crowd, how to hit and it look credible, how to hit somebody without hurting them, how to remember. Now it's fucking, the whole match is scripted. Before it was just a couple things. That's why it looked so organic, because only a couple things were choreographed.
Yeah.
But now everything is mostly choreographed, and that's how it looks.
Yeah. Well, and back to the kind of what we started this,
Yeah.
it takes time, and later on top of that, again, we talk about the mental health issues and things like that, and the culture of all of that. Do you feel like that is becoming less of a process of, you put in those first 10 years, part of what you need to learn is to deal with that kind of bullying mentality? Do you see that fading away, or do you see that?
Yeah, I do see that fading away, and that's good. It's not necessary. It was not necessary. A lot of sophomoric stuff, a lot of, the top guys, looking down at, the talent underneath. It's really changed. It's different. It's kind of funny because I didn't read it, but I just saw the headline and it said, Big Show said today's talent is too nice. And, I kind of agree with that. And you see it in basketball. I'll give you an example. I remember in basketball, there is no way somebody from the Boston Celtics would have helped somebody from the Philadelphia 76ers up the floor, or would have hugged them after a match. It was like there was heat. And I kind of like that. I like heat between my teams. I like a little animosity. I like a little competition, but without it getting overboard or having to, drive people out of the dressing room because you're hazing them so bad, right?
Yeah.
But it's changed. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's happy now. Everybody's happy to be working together. And, it's very different. It is very different. And it's not as bad as it used to be. There still needs a lot of fixing, but it's not as bad as it used to be.
So we talked a bit earlier. You talk about the indie people that come in without a whole lot of seasoning, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not a wrestler, but somebody that has come in just kind of out of nowhere and taken on a big voice and platform with MLW is Alicia Toot. I didn't want to, if you want to talk a little bit about how she's kind of adapted and how you think she's done in a very short period of time with the company.
She's done good, man. I had worked with her in, where's this place? Impact. And, and they weren't really doing nothing with her. And she's really good looking girl. She really likes wrestling. She's really passionate. She always looks nice. She's always very friendly. She's got a lot to offer this business. And I think, Court, like I said, you don't need to show Court somebody that's talented more than once. Once he sees him, he knows. That's part of his brilliance. And he's got her and he's working with her and she's doing some cool shit. And I'm really happy for her because she's a cool girl.
Her and Selena seem to be going back and forth. I don't know if this is going to escalate. Are you interested in this being settled in the ring? Do you think that's a logical conclusion?
Well, I don't think Alicia can wrestle. She's not a wrestler. And I think I think Selena, the last time she wrestled, she broke her leg or something. So
right.
I don't think that's their strong point. But you could put them in in like a 3-man match or something, and they're the 2 women on each side, and once they get in there, you get the obligatory cat fight or a good clothesline, or somebody goes through a table, it'll get a pop, you know. I don't know if a one-on-one match would be good because neither one of them are really wrestlers, you know.
Yeah.
They're more, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Would you like to see an MLW? I mean, I know it's been bandied about, and I know the pandemic kind of throws everything up in the air, but like a women's division for MLW, is that still in the cards? Do you see that coming in the not so?
Why? I haven't talked to Court, but he knows I'm a big proponent of that, and I'm also a humongous proponent, which everybody's so afraid of, and Court's not a big fan of either, is intergender wrestling. Bro, get on the bandwagon now, because it's going to happen. It doesn't matter how much you resist it, it's going to happen, and those matches are so fun to do. The thing is, since people don't know how to do them here, because it's not part of this culture, you got to remember, in Mexico, bro, that's been going on for over 20 years. You know, so we know how to do it. People love it. People accept it. They get into it. You know what I'm saying? And it's another tool that you can use to give a different match to the fans. And you always want to do that, you know? So you see that impact. What's this? AEW doesn't really do intergender matches. Nobody does intergender matches.
Yeah, and a lot of people have come out more regularly, I've noticed in interviews and podcasts, much more so than even in recent years, but a lot more people coming out saying they're against them. I don't know.
It doesn't matter what people say, I'm telling you. I'm going to say this emphatically. It will happen, and you will see how the creative matches that you can get out of this. It's one of the things that I use in Mexico a lot, and people like it. It's just something that hasn't been accepted here, bro. It's just like when Lucha first came. What is that? What's going on? Why are you? And now everybody does Lucha.
Little bits of Lucha. I think you're right. I think it's become like an Americanized version of Lucha.
Right. But you see a lot of Lucha moves now, which you did not see before. You would not see it before. Most guys didn't even know how to do it, or didn't want to take it, weren't with it, were against it. But look at where it's come now. You know what I'm saying? It's prevalent everywhere. You see the Lucha-centric style prevalent everywhere.
That's your phone, not my phone. I'm not having a stroke.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay, sorry, I keep checking my phone. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, maybe you're having a stroke. I don't know. Anyway.
No. So and so, like I said, intergender matches will happen, and you'll see how creative you can get with that, and the different combinations that you can do. And it's another tool that I use to entertain the fans.
Right, rock and roll. Well, Konnan, I want to thank you for dropping by, talking some more about the world of MLW with us here on the Daily. Where can people go to find you, follow you, support you, all those other great things?
Yo, you can check me out at on Twitter or Facebook at KONNAN5150. Chops it up in English on Twitter, Spanish on Facebook, and obviously you can catch me on BN Sports. They're on Saturdays and Wednesdays, or just Wednesdays.
And then I think Saturday. Wednesdays is when the first run is, I believe, on DAZN and YouTube, and then I think Saturdays is the replay.
It's on BN. All right,
I believe. So.
Right, and so you can check me out there with MLW, and hope to be back soon doing something with them, and hope to be back soon doing something with Impact too. I'm doing Spanish commentary now, but anyways. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, and check out my podcast. It's called Keeping It 100 on Apple, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. We talk politics, pop culture, movies, wrestling, sports, a little bit of everything. You know, it's a very different show. And my co-host is Disco Inferno. You know, he's always a provocateur extraordinaire. Sure. You know, he likes to get people riled up, and he does a good job of that. And, you know, and I want to thank you, Nick, you know what I'm saying, for inviting me on your show.